To pay tribute to the memory of Michael Fagan, a great Republican and member of the Irish National Invincibles, who gave his life for the cause of Irish freedom 135 years ago. It is appropriate that the people of Collinstown keep the memory of their patriotic native son alive, not only for his heroic example in life, but also to remember the important contribution to Irish republicanism of the group he was a member of, the Invincibles. Fagan and 4 of the Invincibles took part in the assassinations of Chief Secretary of Ireland, Frederick Cavendish, and the Under Secretary, Thomas Henry Burke, 2 officials of the British administration. These assassinations took place in the Phoenix Park in Dublin on May 6, 1882. The Invincibles, for much of the Irish people today, are a misunderstood and nearly forgotten group. They arose from a period of major social upheaval in the late 19th century, known as the Land War. This was both a time of violent and non-violent agitation, fought between opposing forces of power, privilege on one side against the poor and marginalised on the other, the outcome of which would ultimately be a shift in the ownership of the land from landlord to tenant. The Irish National Land League was formed in 1879 by the former Fenian Michael Davitt and the constitutionalist Charles Stuart Parnell to direct this agitation. In response, the British government introduced repressive coercion acts, imprisoning many of those involved in the Land League. The Fenians, allied to the land agitation movement, decided to respond to this development and the continued violent repression of land agitation. The Fenians' aims was to target British officials in Ireland who had introduced this legislation and sought to repress the Land League, the result being their actions in the Phoenix Park. As research by the late Dr. Shane Kenna has revealed, the Irish National Invincibles, contrary to popular perception, were not a breakaway group or splinter group from the Fenians, but they were in fact an assassination group formed within the ranks of the Fenians themselves. Each of the National Invincibles involved in the Phoenix Park assassinations saw themselves as following that great Irish revolutionary tradition. It is worth bearing in mind when we recall Fagan's final statement before the court. Given his illiteracy, there would be no written testament before his execution. Instead, we are left with a final verbal statement of defiance. Michael Fagan would say to the trial judge following his sentence, "I am not guilty, sir. I have nothing to say, but I am not guilty. I am not guilty except by being a Fenian. I might be guilty, and I will die one." Michael Fagan was originally from Westmeath, but lived and worked in Dublin as a blacksmith. He was 24 years of age, and by the time of his execution was living at the artisan colleges in Dublin. He was a leading figure within Dublin Fenianism and had acted previously as a centre of the Fenian Circle, connected intimately with his fellow Invincibles, James Mullet and Daniel Curley. Pleading not guilty to murder at the trial, it is said that Fagan often laughed during the testimony of the hated informer James Carey, who, as we all know, suffered a dramatic, violent end as a result of the betrayal of his comrades. Fagan was executed by hanging on 20th of May 1883 in the grounds of Kilmainham Jail. Incredibly, he remains there buried today, along with the other Invincibles executed, Joseph Brady, Daniel Curley, Timothy Kelly and Thomas Caffrey. That all 5 men remain buried in unmarked graves in Kilmainham Jail, nearly a century after it has ceased to function as a prison, should be seen by all Republicans as nothing less as a disgrace and absolutely shameful to the heroism and sacrifice of these men. It is worth now bringing to attention the campaign by the great commemorative organisation, the National Graves Association. The NGA was founded by Republicans in 1926 and dedicates itself to the upkeep and maintenance of the graves and memorials of all those who have given their lives in the cause of Irish freedom. The NGA have recently formed a committee and they have launched a campaign to win support for the removal of the remains of all 5 National Invincibles from the prisoners' graveyard in Kilmainham Jail to somewhere more befitting of their status and sacrifice for Ireland. And I would urge everyone here today to go online to the Facebook page of this campaign, register your support. It's so important that Republicans get behind this campaign. For once, this is a campaign that we can win. I have full faith, so please register your support. It is the Invincible's reinterment campaign on Facebook. It is so important to remember and pay a tribute to our martyred dead, particularly in what seems like a prolonged period of difficulty and soul searching for those of us who make up the ranks of Irish republicanism. This year, it will not have escaped your attention the shallow and conniving political classes across Ireland and Britain on our television screens paying what seem to be endless tributes to the Good Friday Agreement on the 20th anniversary of its signing. This was occurring at a time of profound political dysfunction at the heart of the Northern Statelet. Against the backdrop of Brexit, this was completely laughable. Of course, we as Republicans know that the profound political dysfunction is absolutely nothing new in the six-county state, from its creation under the hated Government of Ireland Act in 1920, or indeed today. That the reformist political project of constitutional nationalists to achieve Irish unity through the partitionist parliaments of Leinster or Stormont House is nowhere close to its aim is of absolutely no surprise to us. Nonetheless, we are told that this is peace. But no one here today does not desire a more peaceful and just society. But that is not the case in Ireland. It wasn't the case in 1998, and it's certainly not the case today. And Republican activists the length and breadth of this country can testify to that. It is hardly a shocking observation to state that the challenges we Republicans face are absolutely momentous. Not a year seems to pass that another noted Republican activist is arrested in the six counties and held on secret evidence that their own legal counsel does not have access to. We recall people like Martin Corey and Marion Price, and at present today we had Tony Taylor, who has been interned. In the Free State, it is the mere verbal statement of a Garda superintendent that can have men and women arrested on supposed IRA membership charges. Now, how can anyone say that we are living in a more normal or peaceful time? Whether it's the RUC attacking a Republican commemoration this year in Lurgan, or the humiliation of the hooded men in their quest for justice, everywhere that we turn, there are dark and shadowy forces determined to obstruct Irish Republicans in merely giving a suggestion to the Irish people that there is a valid and better political alternative. And I think it is safe to say that this state of affairs is certainly not peace. I recognise also the huge differences that exist between groups in republicanism, whether that's due to historical matters or matters of personality. But it is important to recognise that despite the fragmented nature of Irish republicanism, we all share firm principles as well as commonalities in our goals. And when the banners and the flags are put away from our commemorations, the work must continue. We must allow time to meet and listen, discuss how we can unite, strategise and campaign on issues that are relevant to us all. All of these things serve to cause the cause of Irish republicanism. And it cannot simply be a case of us reacting to social issues of the day and following other non-Republican groups that offer vaguely progressive or reformist short-term solutions. These groups often lack the goal of a united and independent Ireland that will radically transform the lives of all Irish men and women. Irish republicanism must take the lead in achieving this aim and present solutions within a progressive, democratic, socialist and above all, Republican programme that puts the independence of this country at the forefront and explains how independence will vastly improve the lives of everyone in this country. Let Republicans begin to have this conversation. I myself make no secret of the fact that I favour a federal socialist united Ireland, favoured and devised in the past by iconic Republicans like Rory O'Brady and Daithí O'Connell, and it's certainly something that I would like to see people exploring that little bit more. If you don't know what federal republicanism is, what the concept is, please, you can get in touch with me, or you can Google it, take a look up at Uranua, for example, which is a programme that was devised before. In conclusion, we remember today Michael Fagan and the Irish National Invincibles, but we remember too that this did not arise out of a vacuum, nor was their action in the Phoenix Park that of a random murderous act. It was political in nature and of a revolutionary mindset that reacted to a time of unprecedented social upheaval in this country, brought about by the British colonial rulers. British rule is still with us today in Ireland. The very idea that a country in 2018 is still under firm British rule is a throwback to the days of empire, and it is noted as out of date and deplorable by most of the modern world. The challenges of our times may seem very different than that of the land war period, and any methods we employ most likely will differ from Michael and his comrades. But let us never cease to be inspired by their heroic example and memory as we move forward. And it is forward we must go. There must be no backward steps on public debate.